Hey everyone, this is Stevie Richards. Welcome to episode number 36 of the Big Fitness Show. This is going to be a little bit different. Feels a little uncomfortable, but we feel like myself and, of course, my co-host, the draw, my mentor, the best looking guy on this show, especially when you show you some of these clips. Big Mike Barnes. How are you doing, Mike? After I sent you that link yesterday.
I'm great after the intro, after the link you sent me yesterday and what we're about to talk about in this episode. I was a little mad at you, to be honest.
My work is done. I sent you the link and I go to my wife. My work is done here for the day. And she just shook her head. She's like, I was like, and then when you started texting me, she goes, you just like to stir it sometimes. And I go, yeah, well, that's true, but not in this
Sure,
case. Not in this case. In this case, I watched a particular documentary and I've been following this YouTuber off and on for years. You had never heard of this YouTuber,
Nope.
but when I watched the documentary, and this is kind of, I guess, the whole thing has come to a head with this documentary. It's the dark side of Boogie 2988. And if you're a YouTube person that has followed him or somebody that's seen the rise and now the supposed downfall of this guy, we kind of went back and forth yesterday, Mike, about kind of being torn about doing this episode and how we would approach it. My thoughts and my feelings and my belief is, and I don't know what you think and believe, is we really need to make this kind of like a PSA, because how many episodes of the Big Fitness Show have we talked about accountability, responsibility, mindset, all these different things, which this particular documentary exposes the severe lack of all that. So we are talking kind of to ourselves, and now I feel like this episode could kind of be the cautionary tale of what could go wrong if you don't employ the things that we also struggle to kind of put our best foot forward as well to do these
Sure.
things. But what are your thoughts and feelings first and foremost about the way they approach this episode?
Yeah, I mean, after you sent it to me, when you sent it to me yesterday, I was honestly a little hesitant because I didn't want to come on and bash somebody, because that's not what we're about. We don't want to bring more negativity into the space at all. And I watched the documentary and it was very, I had no idea who the guy was at first. When you sent it to me, I'm like, who is this guy? And why do I care? Like, why am I watching this? Why are we going to talk about this? And it really just was like, oh, okay. When I saw it, and then I'm like, how can we turn this into a positive? What can we do here? And then when you said something like a PSA or a cautionary tale, it was like, okay, this makes a lot of sense for us to discuss, because we're in the fitness space and it's not just physical fitness, it's mental fitness, spiritual fitness, like things like that are important that we need to talk about. And I think some of the things that we've talked about in the past, like you said, are would have definitely helped Boogie. Maybe he should
Well,
listen to the
if he
Big Fitness
wanted,
Show.
if he wants it, and that's going to be the theme as well, because
Yeah,
it's a huge recurring theme. It's not just us speaking, and for all we know, he's infamous or famous for doing reaction videos and agreeing with what people say, but then
sure.
there's absolutely no action. We're going to play some clips so people know, audio and video wise, what we're talking about. And I do encourage people to go watch the documentary. The person that created it, you and I being content creators and trying to be aspiring storytellers and filmmakers, Mike Klum, I believe his name is, did an amazing job with this. This is a very high quality
Sure.
documentary, editing wise, audio wise, video, and he did an amazing job with it. So let's start with that positive, that the
Yeah.
documentary is very well done.
Yeah, I mean, I did appreciate the work that was done with it, the way he told the story. I mean, with documentaries, you got to tell a story, and there's a point in it that really stood out to me, and of how hard of a task this was for the guy making the documentary. He mentioned that he wanted to put a positive spin on it, and he said he couldn't. He said he
He
couldn't
had to take
because
a break halfway during production to get away
yeah,
from him.
yeah, and so it was just it's this documentary is it was very well done in the production quality, the picture quality. It was produced well. The subject matter was addressed, I think, in a way that exposes some truths, and I hope that Boogie would watch it back and realize, wow, but actually like have a wake up call from it. But I'm guessing probably not, just based on the assessment that I can make from watching the documentary. He's a kind of person that's in a place where it's a victim mentality, and will never, now people are going to watch this documentary and he's going to get the whatever. Anyway, to the quality of the documentary, I appreciated the storytelling and how it ended. I could appreciate the quality of it, and it was a good story. As much as I was a little uneasy throughout the whole thing, it was a good story if you take it and turn it into a positive thing to better your life, because you don't want to be like that.
And I would say, and this is where you and I might stand out in a very small percentage of the people that may watch this. You and I are I'm a former professional wrestler. You still currently work, but we're workers. We've
Sure.
been around carnies and manipulators
Sure.
and covert and obvious narcissists. We're going to get into covert narcissism, but obvious narcissists and sociopaths and psychopaths and people that do all that stuff. So you and I can already see the pattern from day one of this. I've seen it kind of fester and grow off of this. My suspicion, because I worked at DDP Yoga as well, and I saw wrestlers coming through that, quote, wanted help, but what they really wanted was the second push of the wrestling career. They wanted to monetize their problems. And that's my suspicion that Boogie only, like, we can call him Steve because that's his real name if you want to be real. This guy only did this because he's losing YouTube subscribers, that people are turning on him, and he's trying to get his second push or, the second wave of fame on YouTube. And he's willing to sacrifice himself and exploit, and that's a very accurate word, exploit the others around him, including that girl that we're going to show a clip of. So this was a business decision by this guy, not a decision for self-improvement. That's my opinion.
Yeah. And I think it definitely comes through if you watch the video, you watch the documentary. To me, I feel like it's to put some kind of positive spin on this whole conversation. I hope that people would watch the documentary and take away from it, I don't want to be like that. Or maybe if you're in a similar situation, you realize, wow, this guy is totally delusional with what he thinks is happening. And so whatever, we're going to talk about the documentary, to give the whole thing away. And this is me on the outside. I've never followed the guy before, never knew of him before, never saw him before, anything. I
may not ever watch anything after this today.
No, I certainly won't. I certainly won't. I mean, it's stuff like that. I don't give my energy to things like that very often. And so to watch it yesterday, like, it was hard for me to actually watch the whole thing yesterday. When you sent it to me, I was like, okay, I'll watch it and we'll talk about it and see what it was, because I just had no frame of reference. But when I started watching it, I was like, I wanted to shut it off within the first 10 minutes. I texted you 10 minutes into it and I was like, what the hell is this? Right. And it was repulsive in a way that just pissed me off when I was hearing the guy talk. Like, I wanted to reach through the screen and just punch the guy in the face, because it was so stupid how naive and blind to the world around him and what he was doing and what he created for himself. And, we talk all the time about being accountable and taking responsibility for yourself. And what I was watching was a person who had zero responsibility for anything in their life. Any of the negative stuff, like, he took all the responsibility in the world for the good stuff. The 4 million subscribers that he talked about, like, how many times was that said in this documentary? And he took all the responsibility for that, but then none of the responsibility for essentially pissing his life away and being a turd. And so, like, it's stuff like that was just, it was hard for me to watch it. So if you're listening to this and you want to go watch it, just keep that in mind. Like, it's not going to make you happy at first. It was really setting the tone of, this is someone who has a real skewed view of life. And then, so that was while I was watching it, it was hard for me to get through it. But then afterwards, it's not that I have sympathy, but it breaks my heart to see that this is just one person that's created this situation for themselves. But there's so many people in the world that live like that every day and have no clue that that's how they're living. You know, it was very clear to me that Boogie is oblivious to this victim mentality that he has and this approach to life. And even something like this in a documentary where it spells it out for most anyone to see, I don't know that it will be the wake up call needed. And there's so many people that live in this state all the time, every day. You know, I have friends who live we've talked on the podcast before about my buddy Tim. He was very much so in this mindset for a long time. And it just that more so breaks my heart than anything, you know, like it's sad to see. And I want nothing more for people to see this and to wake up to their own stuff. And that's about the only good that can come from it, I think, because I don't believe that Boogie will make a change, and it will be a sad story and all this kind of stuff. But I hope that other people watch it, and by us talking about it, and the hope here is that if you want to watch the documentary, great. But the big message for me is going to be, don't be a victim, take complete responsibility for your life and make a change, because ain't nobody else going to do it for you. And I'm sure you've got some clips that we can show people to give an idea of what we're talking about for those of you who don't want to go watch the documentary.
Yeah, and the thing is with that overarching theme, I sent it to you. We had a little bit of fun, like going back and forth with, what do you send to me? What did you do to me? You pissed me off or whatever. But deep down, I was like, something was telling me to watch it. After I got done watching it, I did say prayers for this guy, because everybody can change. And as being
Sure.
wrestlers at one point or another, and I was as guilty as this as anybody, it's easy, especially in a fake subjective business where people get pushed and it's predetermined and there's politics. It's easy to blame other people. It's easy to blame the office, to blame the writers, to blame Vince, to blame Tony Khan, to blame the boys. You're not getting enough money. You're not getting enough TV time. You're not getting booked. It's very easy in wrestling. That's why I made the joke that he could have made a great professional wrestler, because it festers, or it fosters, and it cultivates the victim mentality to a certain point, if you look at it that way. And I had to grow and I had to change. And if I can do it, anybody can do it. And that's why when we watch the medical stuff that he talks about, and we will get to the clips, we're just giving you the overarching theme and our viewpoints. When I was watching the medical stuff, I very much have that, especially with the year I've had so far. I've had that. I'm like, if I can come back from this and get into semi decent shape, if I can come back from a broken neck, if I can come back from the spine infection, near death experience, a real, not saying I almost died just to say I almost died. Mike, as well as my wife and everybody, I legitimately almost died this year, more than once. Mm-hmm. So if I can do it just by the fact of surrounding myself with people like you, my wife, and also waking up every day going, I don't know what kind of day it's going to be, but I'm going to do my damnedest to make sure it's the best day I can make it. Sure. I might fall flat on my face. I literally, some days, I might fall flat on my face. I might not be able to walk today. And then when I got to the point of gratitude, it just made me want to just, that's why I got 3 channels and we do this and everything else. I'm maximizing the life and trying to respect the life God gave back to me.
Sure.
And that's what I hope and prayed for yesterday after I watched that documentary. And prayer does work. I'm proof of it. So hopefully prayer works in this. But then again, we do have to worry about our audience. We do have to be to make them aware, and also put our money where our mouth is, not just constantly do episodes about mindset and the kind of pie in the sky theory stuff. We have to show examples like we're going to show in a few seconds to say, look what can happen when you don't do this.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. And it's very much so. The one thing about this documentary is I feel like it's almost just straight up stereotypical of what you would think of someone who is in their 40s or 50s and hasn't done anything in their life, would rather sit and play a video game than do anything productive. Not that video games are ultimately bad, because they're not, but like it's every stereotype that you probably have in your mind listening to this of what Boogie is, if you don't know who he is it's probably accurate, you know, like, and it just, to me, it's so frustrating to see this because there's so many people that just, it's very frustrating. I get, you know, like I got really angry yesterday while I was watching this, and now I'm looking at it and thinking it's hard to watch and to really understand what's going on in the mind of this guy.
Yeah, it's well, we're gonna start playing the clips. I don't think we can say much more except
Yeah,
comment. We got about half a dozen clips. They're pretty short, anywhere from right now 19 seconds to about half a minute or so. The medical problem one is the longest one, but I think that really needs to be really shown. And then from you and my perspective, we can talk about how that's not a death sentence and it's not
sure.
unfixable. So let's start with this.
I think my net worth is zero. Once you pull the equity out of the house, get rid of the house debt, sell off all my collectibles, and pay off all my debts, I think that puts me at $0. Shit. I'm worthless.
All right, what are your thoughts on that, especially that last part?
That kind of stuff is the mindset piece of this that is just, it's so frustrating because you spend so much time. And I'll be honest, I've been there in the past where I felt like I was worthless. I felt like I was a giant piece of crap because of whatever, right? And like you can get in that mindset, but it just makes it so much worse. And so that, to me, and having watched the whole documentary, that is him trying to get sympathy and trying to, like, I'm worthless, pay attention to me.
So you
I,
can
you know,
say, "Oh no, you're not. You're a good
yeah,
dude," and this and just try to get pumped up, fishing
yeah,
for compliments.
yeah, that's all it is. It's like when a woman says to you, "Oh, I'm not pretty." "Oh, yeah, you are." You know, like that. You're just fishing for compliments. You're fishing for something. And I feel like that's what this documentary was, is this guy was just fishing for more, but never going to change anything. Like, feel bad for me, feel sorry for me. I'm a victim, blah, 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 whatever.
Mhm.
And I'm just like, I don't tolerate that kind of stuff, you know, like I've been there. I get it. I understand, you know, like I understand how you can get so caught up in that. And it's so much easier to blame everybody else in the world for your problems. But the truth is, you're at the core of all of your problems. And so if you're worthless, it's because you've made yourself worthless. You've gotten yourself into this hole. It's because you spent all your money. It's because you spent all your money on collectibles and food and not the things you should have been investing your money into, right? So if you're worthless, it's 100% your problem and your fault. Don't look for somebody else to just feel bad for you and to try to come take care of you. So that clip was that's at the very beginning, relatively at the beginning of the documentary. And it just was like, what the, you know, like that was one of the points where it was just like, I just want to punch this guy. Like,
Yeah. Well, what I've been looking at too is we did another episode, and then even more. If you just go back to the back catalog after this and watch or listen to our episodes, we do try to put our money where our mouth is each and every day with that. Like I said, we fall short some days.
sure,
We fall short almost every day in our Christian faith, obviously.
sure.
Looking at this, we did an episode on priorities. When I start to see it broken down and itemized of his expenses and especially his income, my wife and I watched yesterday, and we said it at the same time. $3,000 a month in YouTube AdSense revenue, we could live off that, both of us.
Sure.
You know, and I remember, like, just talking about money. There's time post WWE, like a lot of wrestlers that wrestle full time, and you're looking for that second chapter in life, and it's tough, and you start dipping into your bank account because you're just trying to find what works for you next. And it came to a point right before we got married. My wife had some credit card debt, and obviously credit cards have high interest rates, and my savings account was going down, but we both prayed about it. And I said, we need to pay these credit cards off because we need to not be in debt. I'd rather just wipe it clean, have less cash, and then we can build back up from there instead of paying 22% interest. And
Right.
my wife said, like, I'm going to cry because yesterday she said it again. She said to me, because I kind of said this, I go, I don't know what to do next. I just keep losing money. The harder I work, I'm making less. I can't wrestle forever, and it's less money each year that I wrestle, which is weird about the wrestling business. The longer you're doing, the better you get, the less you get paid. So when I turned to her and I was like almost in tears, and I was like, I just feel I feel worthless. That's what I said to her. And I don't know what we're going to do financially. She grabbed my hand and she goes, she changed this since. She goes, I don't care if we have to eat mayonnaise sandwiches every day, as long as we're together. Now she changed that to peanut butter and jelly, which I like that a lot better. But but there was such a swelling in my soul that day that I was like, no matter what happens, I have this woman with me. I can achieve anything. My mindset changed like that. And my entire world and my life and my business. And that's when she was like, let's turn the apartment into a home gym. It's important to have somebody with you that's going to, when you are down and say you're worthless, lift you up. What I'm saying is, when she said that, and she goes, I don't care if we have to live in a weekly motel. I don't care if we have to do this. As long as we're together, we'll make it work. Yeah. We had our priorities straight, Mike. Yeah. And that's where this guy does not. And we're going to play another clip in a minute after I get your thoughts. His priorities and what he feels he deserves in life are completely out of whack.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
I almost cried. I didn't quite.
Yeah,
but
you made it through. Good job.
Close. It's a good cry. It really is.
That's good. That's good. That's good. Yeah, the priorities are so out of whack, and to just to focus on that and spend the money, it's frustrating. It's very, very frustrating to watch. I don't know what else to say. It's just you spend so much time in that mindset of just looking for sympathy, and then you just keep going and don't make a change. It's, at some point, there's not going to be any more sympathy. Nobody's going to care because you're just doing it to yourself.
I do want to caution everybody. We're going to make this episode explicit language because of him, not because of us. Well, maybe because of us, we watch more clips, but he does curse and I didn't bleep it out, just leaving it as raw as possible because I feel like just the venom and the bitterness in his voice and the things that you just got to overcome this stuff. So let me share this next clip. This is basically the part where we talked about priorities, and he just has them very, very screwed up right now because he feels like he deserves something, you know what I mean, without having to be humbled. I want to stop on that real quick. $5,742 off of YouTube to make videos in your home. Like, how do you feel about $5,700 a month? I would feel absolutely completely rich at that point.
I think most people would. I mean, most people could live off of $5,700 a month. I mean, with a mortgage, with kids, with everything. Like, I feel like you could totally live off of that kind of
I could save and invest on top of that. You know what I mean? And that's in this economy with inflation and high rates all over the place. So
that's in 2023. $5,700 a month is pretty good money.
Yeah. Well, maybe,
I mean,
that's
that's 60, 70 grand a year at least.
Another year or two, it might only buy you a Big Mac, but right now it's just a lot of money.
Yeah. Yeah.
The audience, I told you guys, I told everybody, this is the center of my world.
All right. Now I don't know where $7,800 in what's your, I mean, average, my expenses per month are nowhere near that. You might even want to take like,
oh no,
you might want to take the 7 off, or it might be close to whatever, but that's crazy right there. What are you spending it on? What do you feel like is necessary with that?
Right. Yeah. I don't know.
Here in this recliner with my dogs, watching television, playing video games on that television. But the other day, the audio on this TV started to go out. And whenever it would make like S sounds, it would crackle. And so I know I'm budgeting, but I immediately went to Amazon and bought a sound bar for $100. And then the next day, the TV stopped crackling. And now I have a $100 sound bar that I don't need. But I know I'm supposed to be budgeting right now, but because that's my TV, because that's my only source of entertainment, because it's the only thing I do, it's one of the only things that bring me peace. Like, I'm like, I have to be able to hear my fucking TV.
Wow. That's yeah. I don't know. You don't even know what to say because it's so frustrating to watch that and to see that I deserve this mentality and this, despite everything. Like, okay, you ordered it, send it back. It's Amazon. They have a great return policy, right? Like, get your money back. It's that simple. But I'm just going to sit there and whine that I made this choice. And that kind of stuff, I just can't tolerate. It's so frustrating. And I hope that people listening and watching, and if you're listening on the podcast and you're not watching the video, it was just him sitting in his room. And when they were going over numbers and stuff, there was arcade machines and things that he bought, like totally wasteful stuff that's just sitting in his house. And it's really hard to have any sympathy for this guy at all. But it just makes me wonder, and for the purposes of our show, the mental piece of this is so strong. That's such a big thing in his mind that's so broken. There's such a brokenness there that is just, it's crazy to me to see how far gone people can get. But I know that there's probably people listening to this right now that are having that hard of a time and don't even realize it. And I hope that by seeing this, it can trigger some things in your mind to maybe help you wake up, because I don't think it's going to help Boogie wake up. It's just probably going to make it worse. But for everybody listening, the hope of even doing this episode, the hope of talking to you guys about this is not to rag on Boogie, whatever. This is to inspire you to make a change and to be better, to never fall into that approach. And if you start to slip into that victim mindset in whatever it is, maybe it's not finances, maybe it's something else, don't let yourself go there. Take complete responsibility for what you're doing and what situation you've created in your life, so that you don't end up in a situation like this.
Yeah. You know what's funny about this too? I'm looking at it and I'm like, the financials of it. And we'll get into that because this guy has arcade machines, has all this stuff. I have a great studio here and I'm very blessed to have the equipment I have. But what did I do, Mike, to get the equipment?
Sure.
I worked with companies, I review, try to get affiliate relationships, try to monetize, essentially got a lot of stuff for free.
Yeah.
So I worked a little bit to email and foster relationships. This guy's a lot more famous than me on YouTube with 4 million subscribers. He'll tell you every day of the week how many he has, but he could have just emailed a company and got the arcade machines. He could have gotten a lot of stuff for free and lowered that overhead. Not saying like, it's a little overkill to have 12, 15 game machines or arcades, but if they're free, you didn't pay for them.
Sure.
And if you have an affiliate link, and he complains about sponsorships and losing them because some kind of Reddit thread or something like that. Well, if you have an affiliate relationship, when people just use your link, there's no sponsorship and there's no hook for you to shill for a company either.
Sure.
I've built I think I've built a pretty decent affiliate business, and you and I have talked about growing each of our affiliate businesses as well. It's a beautiful thing. It's like mailbox money, as we call it in wrestling. It's like getting a royalty check every morning.
Sure.
And he doesn't, it's just, but here's the theme. You have to put a little bit of effort into it.
Right.
And you have to sell yourself. And we don't have the clip of this because it was actually far too disturbing for me in a way. When he went on the job interview with the staffing agency, and his way of selling himself was talking about everything he couldn't do. So that's the mindset, the priorities, the accountability, all that stuff. And it's just one of those things. He mentioned what an industry he did work in for 7 years. And that's kind of why I left the clip out.
Yeah. Do you have the clip of him talking about the doctors?
Yes, absolutely. And I have
play that clip.
I'm going to play the clip of him selling the cards, which I'm setting up the priorities and how he feels like this is unsolvable when we're looking at where's the $7,800 a month going? How can there's no such thing as far as cutting back expenses. It's trying to find money to sustain your lifestyle, which, by the way, in 2023, tons of people are in the same exact spot of, instead of cutting back and having mayonnaise sandwiches, they're saying, how can I make more money to sustain the lifestyle I deserve? So
totally.
We'll get to that. I think we're ending up with the medical stuff because I think it's the biggest part, and it's in line with our brands and what we're trying to do. Yeah. So let me just do that. How am I doing with the sharing? I'm not doing too bad with this.
Yeah, it's doing pretty well. It's working pretty good.
Don't patronize me. I can't wait when we watch it back and there's like a triple echo of boogie, 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 boogie. If you don't laugh, you'll cry. So let's just go. This is 14 seconds.
I made some money off of YouTube last month, but I did not make enough for that.
All right, if you made $29.50 off YouTube every month, how would you feel, Mike?
Dude, I'd be ecstatic right now if I made that.
I'd be ecstatic if we got the Big Finish show just monetized.
Monetized.
$2.95 a month. We'd be good. So
yeah, exactly.
let's go again.
A sponsor or something like that. I'm not making enough.
Once again, how did the monthly expenses go from 7,800 to 6? This is where you're losing us because your story keeps changing throughout the documentary. And I'm sure the guy who made it absolutely realizes this.
Sure. I'm going to go to the game shop, but this is going to keep me from going out on the streets, right? Like, this is going to keep me in a house.
Okay, how do you feel about that, Mike? I mean, it was just a quick clip.
It's frustrating because, I used to collect things. I used to collect all kinds of stuff. For a while there, this silly thing that ended up paying off in a good way. I used to when the movie Cars came out, I used to go to the store and start collecting those. Why? I don't know. Like, I would buy the little die-cast cars, and I just was like, I want to collect the whole set. Silly reason. I don't know where it came from. I just thought they were cool, and I wanted to collect them, and I started collecting them, and then it ended up paying off. I got to, I was like, I stopped collecting them, and it just was ridiculous and stupid. But they were only a couple bucks a piece, whatever. Anyway, it was fun to do for a little while. It paid off because I let my kids open them all, and my kids had a blast opening them and getting to play with them and stuff, and so they get to play with them all the time now, so it ended up being great. But what frustrates me about that clip is it's a collectible. Fine, if you want to collect stuff, go ahead if you have the money for it and whatever, but eventually it gets to the point where you got to stop and you can't keep buying stuff, and so he's going to sell to sustain his life, but he's having a hard time selling him. He doesn't want to sell him. And I get it. I totally get it. But what's more important, this silly little collectible that you have or your life and in getting healthier? And then what I noticed in that clip is there is literally cases and boxes of stuff stacked up behind him as well that I'm sure is collectibles that he doesn't want to part with, that he doesn't want to sell because he spent all of his money on collectibles and things like that. And so it's just, again, it's a mindset, it's a fill in a void, collectibles sometimes. And I think I'm going to make an assumption here. This guy's probably has broken and needs to fill a void in his life, needs to fill holes, and his collectibles do that. And it's like, you have your wife, right? So like you feel whole and complete because you have your wife. I have my wife and my kids, and you've got your cats. And so like we
both have God too. We both have God in our life.
Totally.
First and foremost.
Yes, 100%. And so like there's not that void, there's not that hole. Yes, there might be little ones here and there, but I think someone like Boogie and someone in that mindset, you have such a big hole that you fill that with things, you fill that with collectibles, you fill that with buying, and then so the attachment to those is the unhealthy thing that you should have a healthy relationship with a person, with a spouse, with God, with whatever, like you're going to have that healthy relationship with, but you then turn it into this unhealthy relationship with collectibles. And so it's hard, but you just keep feeding that because they don't love you back. And so the only way you can get love from a collectible is by getting more of them and getting more of them. And that's how you love back. And that's how you spiral out of control. You spend all your money on stuff. And then it's just this broken mindset that these collectibles are never going to fill this hole. And so it's so frustrating, and I feel for him, but it's, you make your bed, you got to lay in it. And that's where he's at.
Well, I think that the most dire, lack of priorities was he had $163,000 or $165,000 mortgage, something like that, left to pay off, but he spent $200,000 on sex workers.
Oh yeah, sure, yeah.
That's you're filling the hole literally with something that it's never gonna love you back, but it's transactional. So that's not a good thing either. So one more financial thing, and then the last two will be the medical stuff, and we'll talk about that because it's not ending on a high note, but it's ending on the most important and what we feel will be the most impactful reaction we have to it. Along with, we will offer the advice, but he's done it millions of times to other people and hasn't taken the advice. So Let's just share this last one. This is your favorite shot of the arcade machines as he's talking about his utility bill with them. Yeah, there you go.
My health insurance is $800. I have $500 worth of medical bills. I have $500 worth of utilities. I pay for doctor's visits, physical therapies, labs constantly. I still have to pay for the car.
I want to stop on the health insurance is one thing, but the medical bills, the doctor's visits, the physical therapy, and the labs.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about, like, there's another one where he talks about everything that's wrong with him. How, dude, all this is fixable, right? If you get healthy, you can eliminate the labs, the physical therapy. You can go to the gym and get physical therapy, and your doctor's visits. Dude, I had the spine infection. I was going back and forth to the Mayo Clinic. I wasn't paying this much every month, and I have health insurance with my wife. So if you have health insurance, how are these? It just doesn't add up to me.
Yeah.
What do you feel about that?
Oh yeah, it doesn't make any sense. And almost all of that is fixable, you know, because if you dial in your health, and that's part of this, that is, you know, if you're watching the clips, you can see that he's not healthy. He's not a healthy person. Mentally, we know that, but physically, he's not a healthy person. He weighs way more than he should. And it's not healthy. And so
that's after gastric bypass, by the way. That's after he's had the operation.
Right. And so it's again, a lack of responsibility, a lack of taking responsibility for your life and for your health and things like that. And then because you didn't do that, now you have all these crazy medical bills that you could fix if you just fixed your health and took care of your life and lost the weight, and it would save you a ton of money, you know.
I drive. I still have to pay for car insurance. I still have to pay for health insurance. Diablo 4 came out. I had to buy it.
Oh, you love that
Final
part.
Fantasy 16 came out. I had to buy it. Tears of the Kingdom.
I'm going to say this. RoboCop looks really good, though. I am tempted to get RoboCop on the Xbox.
I had to buy it. That's $400 worth of video games right there. But if you take out all of it, you take it out. All I eat is sandwiches every day. All I do is sit here. I don't pay for any Netflix subscriptions. All I pay for. I'm
not trying to be funny, but you remember Kevin Smith in Die Hard, the one where he's in the cave as a warlock? Oh, you got to. It's good. Die Hard, the last one he did. No, the second to last one, not the one with Russia, but we're in Washington D.C. where a hacker got in. They had to go to Kevin Smith, who was warlock, and this was something like that. It's a good movie. It's a good popcorn movie if you like it.
Right.
Is internet
we do movie reviews here on the Big Fitness Show as well. And RoboCop video game review coming soon.
Yeah. Medical bills, mortgage. If I pay for just that, I need $7,000 a month. I'm not making $7,000 a month, and I have no clue how to do it.
To me, that's once again, that's the thing of, to the audience, help me make $7,000 a month. I feel like that's the covert narcissism type element of that.
Yeah, I feel like that's what the whole documentary ended up being, was just his pitch to help people to get more subscribers. Feel bad for me, give me more attention. And you know, it's even.
And by the way, hit the video, his reaction video, not to interrupt you, his reaction video, it's working. He got 108,000 views off of that. So 10 times what he's been getting. It went down to like 17 per video, which you and I would, you know, we'd love that, 17,000, but 108 on that. So now he has the false positive in his mind that, oh, now if I expose, you know what I mean? I'm going to keep riding that train as well. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I lost my train of thought. I'm not sure.
Oh, I got you. Keeping there, everybody. This is a reminder to listen to the last episode 35. Keeping your mind sharp.
Keep sharp.
And don't let one of your best friends interrupt you while you're talking. Sorry about that.
No, it's fine, dude. It's just you know, like I don't know what else to say as far as the delusion that's here with this guy. And I just hope that people are taking away from this. Don't be like that. You know, don't be this way. Don't behave this way. Don't have this victim mentality. Don't, you know, if you see the reality of the situation, like he just, in the video clip, they broke down the bills. Okay, well, let's look at that and let's figure out how we can accomplish this task. Don't sit there and say, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to do it. Everything is figure outable. Everything is figure outable. You can figure out whatever it is to find a solution. If you need to make $7,000 a month, there's a way you can do it. You might have to put in some work and you might actually have to get off your ass and go do something, but you can make $7,000 a month if you need to, right? It's just depending on how many jobs you want to work. no matter what the situation is in your life, you can figure out how to fix it. If that's cutting cost, if that's getting a new job, if that's getting a side hustle, if that's selling things that you have in your house, selling the thousands of dollars worth of collectibles that you have, whatever it is, if you need to make that kind of money, you can figure it out. You just got to put in the work. And this guy is a prime example of somebody who has created a lifestyle for himself and is unwilling to put in any extra work to make that situation better. And because of that, you'll then sit in that situation and spend the rest of your life that way if you're not in a place to make life better. There was a long time in my life where I was just like, I did kind of have this, oh man, victim mentality, not to this extent, not even close to this extent, but I was waiting for the call. You and I talk about it all the time. Wrestling, you wait for the call, you wait for somebody to get at you, with stuff that, my wrestling career didn't pan out like I wanted it to be. So then I feel sorry for myself and then I'm sitting there waiting for it. But it wasn't until I decided, you know what, if I want a better situation in life, I better shut up and get to work, because ain't nobody going to make your situation in life better for you. Nobody's going to do that for you except you. Like, we're both married men. Our wives are not going to make our lives better for us, right? They're going to try to work to help us and to help us get where we want to go. But at the end of the day, we have to do the work to make our lives better, right? And if your wife is working to make your married life better than it's ever been, and you're not, it's only going to go so far. And that's where everybody listening to this, I hope that this is just a shining example of what not to do, and that you need to take control of your life and make your life better and figure out how to solve all your problems, because you're in control of that.
Hopefully I'll remind you maybe that in the beginning you said that he was trying to get his subscribers up or get back the fame. Is that kind of the train of thought in the beginning you were going with before I rudely interrupted you? You can punch me in the face too. I know you're in the mood to punch. You're in the mood to punch something right now. You can hit me if you want.
No, it's just, I don't know where I was going with it, man. Like, it's 100% like this guy is just trying to monetize and figure out a way to do it. And it's frustrating to watch, because then you double down on the victim mentality, because you're getting, and so I feel bad. Like, I feel bad for him, because this is not going to help the situation. It's not going to help Boogie. Like, it's not going to help him be better. It's only going to make it worse, because he's just going to go into it more. And people are going to say online that people are going to make comments. You can guarantee they're going to make all kinds of comments, and he's going to read the comments, and then that's just going to perpetuate this stupid cycle. And I don't think that anything that's happening with the publicity that his documentary is going to get is going to be helpful. I don't think it's going to make things better. Right. And like the boxing part of this, that didn't make things better either. There's a part in the documentary where he did some boxing match with some other YouTuber, both guys that probably weigh 400 pounds. And that didn't help the situation. He got a good payday from it. But honestly, like, if he was in good shape and a normal looking person and weighed, 150, 200 pounds or whatever he did, he wouldn't have got that. And so it just perpetuates the cycle that he's 400 pounds. So he got this boxing match, and now we can monetize how heavy he is and monetize his look, and he's going to double down on that. And so none of this is going to help. And clearly, if you know me and you know me well enough, and if the listeners know, I'm a little fired up about it, because this guy needs to get a wake up call. Somebody needs to clock him upside the head and say, wake up, dude, because you're killing yourself. And if you want to be here in a couple of years, you better make some freaking changes. But I hate it, because it's so frustrating that it's not gonna, if Boogie was my friend, I would say to him, dude, you're going to die in the next 5 years if you don't make some changes. And then I would tell him that. And if he gives me excuses, I say, tough shit. It's your life. You got to take control of it. Nobody's going to do this for you. And if he doesn't, it's on him. And then you just kind of wash your hands and walk away, because you can't do it for him. I can't do it for him. You can't do it for him. Nobody on the internet, all the YouTube subscribers in the world, are not going to make the changes in his life that he needs to make. And it just pisses me off.
I think we want to put a pin in that, because at the end, that's the main overarching thing, that if it hits him, nobody's coming to save you, dude. Nobody's coming to save you. But that's the thing too, that we're going to play the clip with him and the girl on the porch. he almost got off on the fact, and he's the one saying he's going to die anyway. If you're going to, we're all going to die. So you're going to eventually be right no matter what. But you're really, really, really just destroying the gift of life, the gift that God gave you. In our opinion, that's what we believe. No matter who gave you the gift of life, you're wasting it, and and you're trying to bring other people down with you, which really sucks. And even though what I would say, and I'll repeat it at the end, even though we're doing this, but we're doing this for our audience, not to give him more play. It's kind of a tightrope we're walking right now. The best thing to do is completely ignore, never comment, never like, never subscribe. Like, you have to ignore this guy so he hits rock bottom, and then he realizes nobody's coming to save me, so I need to save myself, or it might be too late. So let's go to this. This is what really is the meat and potatoes of this episode, is where he goes through the medical things. And this is where you'll take issue. I'm going to take a great deal of issue with this, Mike, because of my history, because I shouldn't be in the position I'm in unless mindset and just pushing forward. So it's about a minute and a half, one of the longer clips.
Thing that's wrong with Boogie: low testosterone, testicular hypogonadism, sleep apnea, swelling due to blockages of lymphatic flow, seborrheic eczema, chronic back pain, protein in urine. That's from kidney damage, folks.
That is everything keeping me alive.
Look at the smile on its face.
Losartan, tramadol, bupropion, sertraline. Did I deal with back pain? I deal with nightmares.
By the way, this documentary guy, you just saw him, he does like the Jim from The Office thing where he's doing, and he just looks in the camera completely befuddled by it. It's crazy.
I'm always tired. I don't know the last time I did sleep. Otherwise, if I don't wear this machine at night, when I'm supposed to be sleeping, I'm actually drowning in my own fat.
High blood pressure, history of gastric bypass, intestinal malabsorption, vitamin D sufficiency, because like most gamers, I hate the sun, morbid obesity, major depressive disorder, major anxiety disorder, history of diabetes mellitus, blood pooling in veins, varicose veins of the legs with complications, degeneration of lumbar or lumbosacral intervertebral disc. That means my back don't work so good. History of basal cell carcinoma, that's cancer. And of course, I can't breathe so good, so asthma and allergies as well. Here's everything.
I just want to just take note, the beginning here, and also this look here. It's like he's almost proud of the fact that he has these issues. Did you get that impression?
Yeah. Yep, sure did. Sure did. The way he talks about him is that as well. Yeah.
What are your thoughts on the laundry list of these supposed unfixable issues?
All of it's fixable. I mean, well, maybe not all of it. I don't want to say.
Well, how would you fix it?
Like
what could, because supposedly his doctor can't help him. Doctor can't help him. Can't give him the answers.
Do you have that clip too?
I do, but I would just, with that list of everything, I want to let people know. I'm going to give my opinion, because once it says also with the back stuff, dude, 2 levels of my spine are nowhere near fused.
Sure.
I couldn't walk for months.
Yeah.
I couldn't do that. I broke my neck before I did. I'm just giving you, I have a laundry list as well. If I wanted to have the laundry list, 2 vocal implants. That's why I have this beautiful voice that I can't find a mic that fits the characteristics.
Sure.
Each thing, I'm going to get emotional again. Each thing that I thought was a curse for so many years turned into the biggest blessing ever when I started Stevie Richards Fitness, and we started the Big Fitness Show here, because I'm able to speak from experience with empathy to people. I'm able to tell people, you can overcome it because I did. And if I can do it, anybody can do it. Unless you don't want to.
Right.
But when you make up these fancy words and you're talking about everything else that is completely comorbidities that you have brought upon yourself with a smile on your face, you're literally saying like, it's just, is that the narcissism? If I think that's the covert narcissism.
Mhm. Yeah, I agree. I agree with you. I think it's just, it's all of that stuff is probably fixable if he would just lose some weight and get healthier and take care of himself and eat healthier and stuff like that. You know, there's other parts in the show where they talk about the food that he eats, and it's just, it's not healthy. And you can't, nobody would look at him and think that this guy's healthy. And so it's just all fixable, and it's, yeah, it's so silly to think. And the running through the laundry list of things is just more of that victim mentality, more of that stuff, more of that thing, more of that piling on of just feel bad for me, feel bad for me, feel bad for me. And I don't.
The part too, as a worker, and you being a worker, you're not even given the right facials or emotion for the moment. So it's
sure.
there's certain parts where he's sad, and
Yeah.
then with this, he's proud.
Yeah,
It's
sure.
it's very, very, it's jarring and unnerving to me to
Yeah.
see that kind of stuff, and how proud. And in the beginning of this clip, we didn't show it. It has like, it's like his epitaph, like his tombstone, whenever he was born, 2023, and then the question mark fades in. Like,
Yeah.
he's just like, I might have 2 years, maybe I'll have 2 years, but I won't have 12. I won't be around.
Sure.
And this next clip here with the girl, which is a whole nother thing of, you having 3 daughters, has to look at that and go, what in the world? This is insane. But I'll share this last clip, and then I'm sorry, Mike, I can see the life leaving your body as you watch.
It's hard to hide it when this is just pissing me off so much.
Yeah. No, you're not. You went from fired up to now, like put the razor blades away. Take them away from your wrist, please, for love of God. I love you, Mike. Do not do it. I need you. I need you around. Don't be like Boogie. Stick with me.
Yeah, I got you.
This is a minute, but it's worth the minute. Trust me.
I really want you to understand how actually sick I am. Like, I don't know if you actually get it.
He has a smile on his face as he's saying this for people listening. Do you see that, Mike?
Yeah.
But this is my health summary. This is everything that's currently wrong with me. My risk for stroke or heart attack is astronomical. I am essentially a walking time bomb. And I'm so fucking sorry for that. I really, really wish I had taken better care of my body.
Yeah, I know. I'll never be ready for it, but I know. I don't want you to be alone.
I don't want you to be alone.
Okay?
Now, I'm just guessing with this, Mike, but he got off on making her cry.
Well, he wasn't, there was no sincerity there whatsoever. It just, he's happy to have for the audio listeners. It's a young girl. They say she's 20. She looks like she's not even 20. And he's what, in his 40s, something like that.
Almost
right?
50, 49,
Almost
I
50,
think.
yeah. And so like, it's definitely a very drastic thing, but it's, yeah, it's sad. It's really sad that is, I feel bad for that girl more than anything. I mean, that was my big takeaway from the whole thing is that girl needs to get away from him as fast as possible.
It's just like when you're sitting there telling somebody, I don't think you know how sick I am. And you have a literal smile on your face, and you're talking about how you could die just sitting there right next to her. It's a ticking time bomb.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, and in her defense too, this girl probably came from a broken home. We're surmising this girl has some issues. She seemed from the past pictures like, but something went wrong, and he's taking advantage of her naivety, of her youth, of her not knowing any better about, like what we just said, high blood pressure, all that laundry list. Dude, 95% of that is fixable, if not 100.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't know that because it's so, in showing somebody on a phone, this is what's wrong with me. It's just like, as men in our marriage, what is our job? Our main job, especially as Christian men, to be the rock, to be the strength, to be the protector, to make sure that you don't make your wife or your girlfriend cry. You don't
Sure.
give them a reason. You take away any reason that you can for them to be negatively affected emotionally. You're a
Right.
protector. You literally, if there's arrows and bullets coming, you turn your back, you cover them, and you get shot and you die to protect your wife.
Sure. Yeah.
This is slightly different.
A little bit. A little bit. She just wants the sympathy. So I don't know what to say.
God, man, your commentary is getting
it's getting worse and worse. I'm sorry.
Yeah, what a
It's
downward
just making
stuff.
me mad. Just making me mad. Like
Oh, man.
The brokenness in the mental piece, the mental part of his mind has got to be so broken, so damaged. And the poor girl too, same thing. Like she's got to have some brokenness that they're just both trying to fill a hole. And I hope she gets away from him. I hope he wakes up and makes a change, because that is sad. They tried to have an emotional moment in the movie, but when you watch it, you can see in his face that there's no sincerity there whatsoever. None. And it's embarrassing to see.
Yeah, these documentaries in general are tough to capture raw emotion because everybody knows there's cameras, lighting, you're mic'd up, and you kind of perform for it. You know, it's hard to see the cameras disappear. I don't believe any time during this documentary that the cameras ever disappeared for him. He knew they were there and he did what he did. So, like I said, I prayed for this guy afterwards. We'll continue to say prayers for as long and hopefully they work. But at the same time, God helps only those who help themselves.
Sure.
So you got to give me something, man. You're quiet. You're like, please don't become a mute on me, man. I
don't know, man. Like
let's turn it around. What would you do? Like you said, if this was my friend, you already kind of gave a spoiler for how you would handle this. But after this documentary, and now Boogie would probably come to you, and my guess, this is just my guess, but we know the personalities of wrestlers that never retire, never give it up, are always chasing it, or marks for themselves no matter what. They don't want to escape their persona. And Boogie, I think, falls into the category of an older wrestler that just cannot stop being the older wrestler gimmick.
Sure.
He always wants to be Boogie. So in essence, if Boogie came to you, and my guess would be after this to say, dude, it worked. Like I got 108,000 views on the video of Revive. Like we're back. What would you say to him?
Legitimately, I would say to him, okay, you're back. Now do something with it. Don't sit there and continue the same old bad habits. Don't sit there and continue to be the same turd of a person that you have been for years. Now you've got some motivation, right? And if we want to look at this purely from an ego, purely from a narcissist perspective, think about the transformation change. Think about that story. Like, let's look at this from a business, monetizing a story, monetizing the stuff, right? Everybody looks at Boogie right now and sees this big guy, 400 pounds, that has this sad sob story, victim mentality. And this documentary came out and exposed his whole story. So everybody sees it. Well, now, how awesome would it be? How many more views would he get? How many more subscribers would he get if he actually made a change and turned into a new man and turned into a new human being and lost weight and changed his life and started acting better and made up for all the wrong things that he did in his life, made up for all the mistakes, did all the stuff, became a positive force in the world instead of a negative drag it down. And so that's what I would say to him, to anyone. The story, the comeback story, think about it. In professional wrestling, comeback story is huge. It's always a big comeback story. And, older wrestlers will always want that comeback story. Okay, we'll do it, but you're not going to get the comeback story if you don't get to the end, right? Like you can't have a before and after. You have your before, the before is there, but you got to get to that after, and you're not going to get to the after if you don't make the changes. And so you can't have the comeback if you don't make the changes. And so for Boogie, I would say to him, get your shit together, make the changes, and you're going to be better off for it because you'll actually be able to have people give a damn about you moving forward, and they'll care about the changes that you've made in your life.
As far as the physical fitness or the health standpoint, he's done that at least 2 or 3 times already. And if you see from the documentary, my observation is he's just trying something to get that little hit for fame or to fix everything with what, like the mushrooms at the end. This is going to fix everything. Just change my brain. And he's looking for that quick hit. And unfortunately, in society, social media, YouTube, and all that stuff, everybody's looking for a quick on-demand fix, not the long-term. The boring, boring stuff breeds boring consistency produces amazing results.
Yeah.
Nobody gets that. So what I would say too, this is where you and I think got it, because in wrestling you can be conditioned to be very selfish, because those are the people who usually are most successful in most cases. When you and I really shifted our focus to ignore ourselves to a certain point and serve others, and not worry about our problems, but helping others with their problems, our problems became fixable.
Sure.
It's a weird thing when you don't dwell on yourself so much and you put out that energy to help people. For some reason, you can figure out how to solve your own issues. Have you discovered that? Because I did. I'm fine, and everything's good. And even if it's not, but Mike's got to say, well, maybe I can help out Mike or help my wife, or somebody might need help down there at the Humane Society or this. When you start putting others first, truly putting others first without a camera, you're gonna change for the better.
Yeah, totally. And it motivates you, and it adds to the conviction of you keeping your changes. And so the impact that Boogie could have right now, if he made a change, the impact that you can have, anybody listening, if you make the changes in your life, the story that you're going to be able to tell is going to impact so many more people, and it will just further your conviction to stay on track, to keep going, right? Like when you post things on social media, when you post things on YouTube, it's a accountability piece that can be used to your benefit. If you post, hey, I'm in the gym today, and then somebody's going to check in with you tomorrow, and you just keep going, you keep showing up, and people are going to take that, and you're going to get more impact. You'll have more views, more people will care if you're actually trying to bring good into the world and motivate other people. And it will be a better story than what you're telling right now.
I'm not trying to be negative with this, but I've seen it play out because I've seen some of the videos. Like I said,
sure,
his answer to everything we just said will be that we didn't give him any answers. That wasn't an answer that he can do, or it wasn't clear or concise enough. It wasn't what he was looking for. You know what I mean? You've dealt with people like that.
Yeah.
This is what you need to do. And you're like the doctor thing. Tell me, what did you do? Well, it's up to you. Well, you're not giving me any answers. What they're literally telling you to do is take care of yourself, eat better, work out, do all this stuff. But he left that part out to just say they didn't give me any answers. So that's the victim mentality, the narcissist, and also in a way a sociopath that has an idea. They're hearing you, but they're not really listening to what you're saying.
Yeah. Well, here's the clear and concise. Start walking around the block. Do that once a day for a week, and then walk around the block twice the following week, and then continue to
get some cats.
There you go. Get a cat, and that'll fill the hole that the collectibles. Sell all your collectibles, sell all of your stuff, all of your merchandise, everything that you have, sell it all, and then start walking, start moving your body, and then start eating. Cut out fast food, cut out processed food. Don't order all of your food in. Okay. Start cooking for yourself. Cook eggs, cook ground beef, cook rice. Easy. There's your clear and concise action steps.
It's funny because that solves a lot of the financial stuff too, right there.
Yep. 100%.
All right.
100%.
Are you okay?
I'm okay. I'm just irritated.
We're saving. Just let people know we usually have a pre-production meeting where we talk and we're kind of pumping each other up and everything. I was like, let's do the episode, and let's do it, because you would be way up here. I'm way down. We kind of started here. So like the post-production meeting where we talk will be very good. And if you want that on Patreon, let us know. So we'll see what we can do about that. So like, you can take us out, Mike. And if you have any vocal strength left in you after watching this.
I do. It's just the whole conversation is just, it's frustrating. And I didn't realize I was going to get this frustrated with watching it again. Like I was pissed off yesterday watching it, and then just seeing the clips again just really irked me a lot. And like to put a pin in this and just be done with it, it's, you know, the takeaway here is you're in control of what you're going to do, the situation that you create in your life. And you, as soon as you take responsibility for that, you can make the changes that you want to make. And if you sit and live in a victim mentality your whole life, you'll never make the changes and you'll never have the life you want to have. And you'll be a victim and you'll die a victim. And then, you know, you'll be forgotten afterwards. Right. So like everybody's going to look at you and think that poor guy, you know, and like this whole conversation that we've had, we both feel bad for the guy. Like, I mean, to a certain extent, but not to the point where, it's overly, like, he's created this situation for himself. And this is for everybody that's listening. Every situation that's happened in your life, you create it. And if you don't make the changes, you're just going to sit there. And at some point, the sympathy is going to be gone. Nobody's going to care anymore because there's enough that you can give that somebody's going to care about you to try to motivate you. But then when you don't make changes, it's like marriage. If you're married and things are good at the beginning, but then you fall into these bad habits, you fall into these things, then eventually it leads to divorce. And because your wife just doesn't care anymore. Right. And so like it's translated to YouTube. If you just fall into the same bad habits and the same stuff over and over again, if you and I never said anything different ever, people are eventually going to stop listening to us because we're not saying anything of value. And it's turning into this thing that's not going to make a change that you want. And so final thing I'll say is if this guy wants to change, if anybody listening wants to make changes, as soon as you take responsibility for everything in your life, you can start to make changes.
I can't say anything more. Can you take us out or?
Yes, sir. Yeah, we're out of here. We're out of here. So, hey, thanks for tuning into this week's episode, everybody. I appreciate you. I know it was a little bit different than what we normally do. So let us know what you think. Let us know what you thought of the episode. Comment, shoot us an email at thebigfitnessshow@gmail.com. We would love to engage with you there. And as always, if you got some value from this, share it with somebody, and we'll see you in the next episode. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
I'm sorry again. Like,